Hi there, Sandra here from the Schwowin's Nest. Thanks for stopping by today. I've got some thrift store flips for you. These first projects are super simple. I picked up these rolling pins from the thrift store. The big ones are thrifted, the small one is from IKEA, and I'm just giving them a good scrub down. I'm going to be painting the handles and the body of this one because it has some lettering on it that I did earlier. I don't like that anymore, so I want to give it more of a vintage look. I want to make each of the rolling pins look a little bit different, so for this little one, I'm going to paint the body of the rolling pin white and leave the handles wood. This last one, I'm going to just paint the handles in Rust-Oleum charcoal chalk paint. This one is huge. It's $4.99 at the thrift store, and it's about 2 feet in length from tip to tip. It has a crack on one of the handles, but you know what? I didn't care. This is so gorgeous and it's huge. It's probably meant for industrial baking, but I just loved it. And the wear on it and some of the stains are just beautiful. Now I'm going to take some coarse grit sandpaper and do some distressing on them. I want to go around the edges like that and just bring out the wood below. I'm going to do a little bit all over the rolling pin, but mostly on the edges. I love buying solid wood frames from the thrift stores, and this one has some beautiful lines to it. It was $3.99. I'm going to take it apart and then I'm going to give it some magic. I'm using my go-to white paint, which is Rust-Oleum chalk paint in linen white, and I'm going to give this a couple good coats. I want to be able to cover everything, yet I'm going to be distressing to bring out some of the beauty of the natural wood later on. This is the frame backing, and I'm going to keep that as the backing for my sign. So I'm also going to give it a couple of coats of Rust-Oleum linen white. I love the look of shiplap, but it can get a little expensive using real wood as backings for my signs. So what I do is use a square and then just use a pencil and put a line across, and I'll do that all the way up the board. The easiest thing to do is just make your ruler the width of the shiplap lines, and then you can't go wrong. Now I'll just use my pencil and freehand the word welcome somewhat in the middle of the frame. I'm going to be adding some florals to it as well, so I want to make sure I have it all spaced out correctly. If you've been watching some of my videos, you know that I love my CraftSmart paint pens. They are so handy, and they come in a fine tip, which is the one I'm using here, and a chisel tip, or like a thick marker. So what I'm going to do is outline my letters, and then I'm going to make the downswing thicker and the upswing is going to be thinner. I learned about the thicker part just by looking at some other videos from other creators, and also just taking a look at what the font itself looks like, whether it's on the internet or Pinterest or wherever you're getting your inspiration from. You'll be able to see where the line is thin and where the line is thick. The lettering is complete and the frame is dry, so I'm going to take some fine grit sandpaper and sand off just where some of those lines are, where it would receive some natural wear. To put the backing into the frame, I'm using a combination of my favorite glue, which is Weldbond. There's a link in the description box below, and I'm also going to use some hot glue. Now, this didn't work out as well as I thought it would because that cardboard wasn't exactly straight. It had a little bit of a bend in it because I painted it, which happens all the time. A little tip for you: if your paper or your cardboard is bending, if you paint the back of it as well, which I could have done here, then it'll straighten out. So it's just because it has paint on one side that it's giving me a little bit of a problem. So I decided then just to grab my hot glue gun and just put some beads along the back, and that kept it in place really well. Here's the sign all put together. And to make it a little bit more farmhouse and pretty, I'm going to be adding some greenery and some lavender. This is a design that I created last year and it went over really, really well on my Etsy shop. So I decided to give it a go for this year too. I'm creating an L shape of flowers on the left-hand side of the sign. And I always start with my greenery at the bottom. That's sort of the foundation of the design. And then I'll fill it in with some more greenery and some lavender flowers. This last project is this wooden tray or box that I did thrift. It was $3.99 or $4.99, something like that. I usually don't buy wood products more than $5. So, you know, it's got to be worth it. And this was in some really good shape. And it actually has a little lid for the square area to the right. So I'm going to give it a couple of coats of Rust-Oleum white. Now, in hindsight, I should have done it black first or gray, because some of the mahogany tones of this wood started to seep through, and I had to do some third coats in a couple of spots. Here it is, fully dry with 2 to 3 coats of the linen white, and you can see the lid is also painted white. I'm using coarse grit sandpaper to reveal some of the wood tones underneath. And the reason I'm using coarse grit sandpaper, this is like an 80 grit, is so I can get that paint off really fast. I don't want to have to be struggling with it. So sometimes when I want the wood to show and I don't want to spend a whole lot of time sanding, that's when I use the coarse grit sandpaper. Just a tip for you. So this step is something that I usually don't show, but I do it to most of my projects, especially ones like this that are going to be used. If it's just a display item, it's not a big deal, but I do like to put a clear coat on things that I know might get used. So this is a tray. There's going to be things put into it. You might be using the lid and picking it up and putting it down. So I'm going to just give it a nice clear coat of Rust-Oleum matte clear top coat. That is something that goes with their chalk paints, and I'm using a brand new brush for this. This is water-based, so it's a nice easy cleanup, but I wanted to use a nice soft brush so I wouldn't get any bubbles or brush strokes. I've styled this tray or box a couple of different ways. Thank you so much for watching my video today. If you're new to my channel, I would love for you to hit that red subscribe button and the bell to get notified when I upload new content. As well, you can like, comment, and share my video. See you in the next one.